Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce and another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond compare.
Jetzt kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von hinten an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!
Welcome back to Dortmund Dispatch. Today I'm joined by Joey Meyer and Pedro Rodriguez. We have two painful results to talk about this week, so there will be no cold open. Let's get straight into it. Which of these matches against Barcelona and now Hoffenheim today did you least enjoy?
I gotta say the match of today, to be honest, because at least against Barcelona, like it's kind of like expected that Barcelona is the better team, like on paper and also in terms of like form. But at the same time, we competed well against them, so I was not as angry. Of course, it's not cool to play well and then not get the result, and that's on us. But today, I think overall, Hoffenheim, I think they probably had the upper hand against us. I mean, they dominated most of possession, and especially in the second half when we lowered the lines too much. And that's not enjoyable to watch. So, yeah, I think we took the sponsorship way too seriously in the Bundesliga, 1-1. So, yeah, two straight 1-1s, two winnable games. Yeah, just frustrating, man.
I'm totally with Pedro on that. I mean, today's game was garbage, in my opinion. I mean, we couldn't even get 1 XG. Terrible creation all around. At least in Barcelona, there's a lot of back and forth. It was an exciting game. There was even a couple minutes toward the end that I thought we were going to pull off the win. Really unfortunate that it ended in a loss because I think we deserved something from that one. But it was, I mean, for entertainment value, it was a good game to watch. Today, it was the first half was pretty boring. Nice banger from Gio, but in terms of the creation, I mean, yeah, I'm not holding anything back for this one. It was a crap game.
Yeah, coming into this match, I said last week you're going up against one of the teams with coming into this match, the third most expected goals allowed, third worst in the league in terms of conceding chances, and this was just, it's embarrassing. It's the same thing I talked about. Like Brian was talking about, oh, well, you could finish these chances. And I'm like, no, we're not creating chances. And the chances we're taking are like of such a low quality. Like we get no big chances. I'm just waiting for like someone to score a tap in. It's not possible. I'm wearing a little bit of an American themed jersey today in honor of Gio Reyna, the American hero who only scores worldies. And like it's all well and good, and to score such spectacular goals, and you really enjoy seeing those type of goals. But like you also, if you want to score a lot of goals and you want to win games, you need to create big chances. This is another match in the league where we did not create a single big chance, and that's why like our biggest issue is chance creation. Nuri Sahin changed up his tactics yet again because he believes in nothing that he does. He went back to his original system that we saw in preseason, and it didn't really work at all. We still have no creative players taking up good positions in the final third because I guess he wants Gio Reyna to go do like whatever Marcel Sabitzer does when we have the ball. Like deep into our opponent's third instead of like dropping in between the lines and trying to like create a big chance because I guess Gio Reyna is now the guy we want on the end of crosses. So like it's really just farcical what we're having to watch. And like at this point, like I've seen enough. Even if we win the next game, we're talking about like projecting out to 57-point pace for the campaign. We're currently sitting in 8th place. Yeah, I've seen enough.
Yeah,
Of
I don't
Nuri
know.
Sahin ball. I've seen enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we should start with Barcelona, but I'm not as critical as you're being. At least I wanted to know your perspective on the coming back to the preseason formation, but we can talk about that, I think, more after Barcelona, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that more after Barcelona. Barcelona, we did dominate the match in many ways. I think we had the better chances. We were very, very unlucky. Like this is a game where like we should have finished an additional chance, um, and kind of put this game away. There were some things that I think I saw repeat themselves on the weekend that we got away with in this match, and I'm just gonna kind of talk about that. So in this match, Serhou Guirassy, he gets some contact in the box. He goes down fairly easily. Referees watch game tape. They see that he's constantly looking to make the most of these fouls. They are fouls, but they're occurring in the box, and every foul in football is discretionary because there are so many that are, by the letter of the law, are wrong. But just he's essentially getting to the point where because we have these chance creation issues and penalties are called so frequently nowadays that he's really trying to make the most of it in a lot of these situations. He gets away with it in this match, dispatches the penalty very well. Some defensive issues, if you guys want to touch up on them. But I'm trying to get through this match quickly because I have a lot to say about the weekend.
So-
Of course, yeah, it's everything more fresh because we just watched the match this afternoon. But
Mhm.
I think for me, yeah, what you said is pretty true. I think we had pretty similar like tactical displays in both matches, both against Barcelona and Hoffenheim. And one thing that really bugged me against both teams was the press system. We're basically pressing a 3-2 with Sabitzer and Girassi going for the center backs, and then we have Gio for the pivot, and then the flankers, of course, sorry, the wingers would go for both fullbacks. But there's always this brilliant guy in midfield called Pedri, who always managed to find space in between lines and find this good positioning to surpass our press system. So in that sense, Barcelona really wasn't affected at all by our press, especially in the first half. I think in the second half we managed to balance things out, but in the first half I think was more strategic. And I think after the first two great chances they created in the beginning of that match, we just try to balance things out and just try not to concede. So we were really structured in a 4-4-2 and try not to allow big chances for them. And we still created a few good things as well. But in the second half, there's a tweak that I thought was pretty interesting with Ben Sebaini inverting as a like a midfielder. And so basically, I just saw both center backs with Chan and Schlotterbeck alone, and then he would invert in a double pivot with Felix and Mecha. I thought that gave us a little bit of the upper hand in the midfield. Yeah, even though it's a little bit dangerous if you think of it, only having two of our center backs really exposed and not having both fullbacks on their positions in the build up. But at the same time, I thought it really worked in a sense, and we had more control. We were pressing higher, and but again, we just committed silly mistakes. I think in every goal, to be honest, I think Gross is the most obvious one. He was having a nice match, not brilliant at all. He had the assist, but it was an easy assist with that brilliant pre-assist from Jan Koto, which I thought was brilliant.
Koto,
But
fantastic match by the way.
yeah, love it. But I think that pass, it's inexcusable, to be honest. And in the other goals as well, in the first goal, Felix Mecha lost the key duo to Olmo in the midfield, and then Benzema took a second longer to make the offside trap and just make things easier to Rafinha. And in the second goal, of course, too much space for Fermin Lopez to finish. I wouldn't blame that on Klobo at all. And even I did the player ratings for this match. I didn't think he had to blame on that ball because it was a difficult save because the shot was too close to him. He couldn't get a good grip out of it. And then Fermin Lopez was just too free to be true. I thought, oh my God, yeah, that's an easy goal. And then he scored. And we shot ourselves in the foot again. And again, it's a good performance. I think I saw good things from the match against Barcelona, but at the same time, we have to stop shooting ourselves in the foot because, and it could have happened again with the possible injury from Schlotterbeck, who I'm sure made all of us really afraid of the future of our defensive system. But eventually, he came back as stronger as always. But yeah, just disappointing just to play well, but still not get the points. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, a lot of stupid stuff with their offside trap that I wanted to touch on real quick before I let Joey talk. And the one that really bothered me because of how stupid it was is we get the ball in behind. Sabitzer is slower than Jamie Gittins, obviously, so he gets in behind. He might have been onside. I'm not sure. Jamie Gittins definitely wasn't. And then Sabitzer takes a touch, and Jamie Gittins kind of takes the ball off him and goes to run. And like I've talked about Marcel Sabitzer on the break and how he's incapable of running, and that kills so many fast break opportunities, and transition opportunities. But Jamie Gittins taking the ball there, like that is just stupid. Because he was 100% offsides. He was in front of Marcel Sabitzer, who was in front of the last defender. So, like, that to me is just a silly, silly mistake because then the linesman has to keep the flag down and we can see if we can get a scoring opportunity out of that. But yeah, that one to me bothered me a lot. But there were just so many instances where a ball's a little slow to be played, or the attackers are just getting beat by this offside trap that they know is coming.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. I was going to actually bring up the offside trap because I think they caught us offside, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was like 6 or 7 times throughout the match. And like you said, this is something that the team should have been prepared for in training. Their back line, they sit high. And then after the first half, you'd think that Shaheen, I don't know, it should have been addressed in some way, but even like up into the 70th minute, 80th minute, we were still getting caught offside.
I mean,
Um,
they are the best in the world at it. I
sure.
think that you just as wingers, especially like if Garassi's getting caught offsides, like I'm gonna hold my hands up. But when the wingers are being caught offside, like just start your run 5 yards deeper. Like we saw time and time again, Duranville and Gittins beat their fullback for pace. Like you have a center back on one side and you have a very very attacking ball day on the other side. Like just start your run 5 yards deeper, and the space will be there because by the time you're hitting the line, the ball will already have been played. You'll be at full sprint, and they won't be. So just kind of cheating and playing on the line in a situation where like you shouldn't be. Yeah, that just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
hmm And I do think a couple of the substitutes could have come a little sooner because I mean, Gross did have that fairly easy assist for the second goal, but I did think that his passing overall was really impactful. Aside from that horror pass that undid us, but between the second goal for Dortmund and Barcelona's winner, there was a span of time. I'm not sure if it was 5 minutes, 6 minutes, but I mean Dortmund was putting the pressure on at that point. Barcelona was on the back foot, so I thought we were in really good position to maybe scrape out a winner. So I do find it really unfortunate that it was Gross's straight pass that ended up leading to Barcelona's win. I also thought it was interesting that you brought up Ben Sebaini, Pedro, because pushing him a little bit further forward and into the attack is actually something that, as far as the way he's been playing in recent weeks, I kind of agree with because
Me
he's
too.
looked much more dangerous as a wing back. He's gotten into dangerous positions within the box, and he's been starting to take some corners here and there. So, I mean, clearly Shaheen sees something of more of an attacking player, certainly than perhaps I've given him credit for in the past. And I mean, Ben Sebaini, I think, is kind of one of him and Nemecha, I would say, have kind of been the surprises of the first half of the season. So happy to see that they're both still playing decently despite everything.
Yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think that's the place where Pennsylvania should be offensively. Of course, sometimes we like to see those overlaps to help Jamie Gittins, but
hmm
I think mostly that strategy is for him to go on the inside so Jamie Gittins will have the flank for himself and have those one-on-ones or sometimes 1v2 situations, which we know he can tackle and go through the defenders. So that's good. But at the same time, I also have like to have him doing other things as well. So it's good
For
that
sure.
he's being utilized in different ways.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say on this match before we go into the Dortmund Hoffenheim game is while this draw is a serious disappointment and has taken us out of the top eight, if we win both games that we have remaining, which we should do, we will still finish in the top eight. And there's no reason to have any other expectation, especially with a lot of time, a winter break, which most clubs will not have, will allow us to come back refreshed, rested, and with better ideas, and very easily we should be able to achieve getting that bye. Because we've been very bad to start the season, very unlucky with injuries, and with all that combined, we're still right in the fight for the top eight, and that very important bye week because we can't afford two extra matches looking at this squad. But now moving on to the Dortmund versus Hoffenheim match, this is a 1-1 draw, and for the second straight Bundesliga week, we see a late equalizer kind of take away some points for Borussia Dortmund. This time it's academy player Jacob Brun-Larsen equalizing in the dying embers. We have Lures, our U23 starting right center back, getting played at right back for the first time. He has yet to accumulate 90 minutes in the top flight, and for the first time, he comes on and has to play out of position at right back. I mean, do you think there was a better solution to that? Like, well, we've seen Watyin play out at right back. We've seen Emre Can do it. We've seen Pascal Gross do it. Pascal Gross was obviously subbed off at that point. But do you think there was a better option available to us there?
I would say if I was him, I would probably do the same substitution, but I would put Emre Can as the right back. I think he's more experienced. I think he has a better understanding of positioning and position of his body than, of course, an academy player has. So in that sense, I would do that small tactical tweak. So I think we would have a better chance of not conceding to Brun Larsen, just an average or even below average academy player from Borussia Dortmund. That was pretty sad when he scored.
He's not our academy player. He is a Hanover academy player.
Yeah, okay. But still former Dortmund player, so that's not a more cruel way for us to concede in the last minute to equalize and let the 3 points escape from us. But yeah, I would have done that. I would have put it Emre Can as a right back and Lures in the middle. I think it would be a better solution. I thought he was going to do that, but when I saw Lures as the right back, I was just praying that he wouldn't commit a mistake, because I think it would be really unfair to him, because he was not put in a position to I mean, at first he was in a position which it requires a lot of pressure, because usually you don't require those kind of players to come in that kind of context, like just 1-0 when the other team is pressing you at your own home. There's no other guys from the bench to put instead of young Couto because of his injured. And he was kind of put in that position. There was no one else on the bench, so he needed to be there. That's also poor building. So hopefully, also with the winter break, we can have more reinforcements in those areas, also with the injuries that we are having. But yeah, just I feel really bad for him, because it's not even it's not fair to blame it on him. Of course, he was directly involved, but I mean, he was not put in a position to really take the best out of him. So
No, not at all.
it's just, I don't know. What do you think, Joey?
Yeah, I mean,
Pedro, you know what could have been an option for 250,000 euros? Tom Roth on to the left, Ben Sabaini over onto the wrong right side. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I didn't say it was moronic. I didn't get proven right 6 months later.
Every time I think about it.
I mean, it is hard to say who else would have been put back there. Gross had already been subbed out. The one appearance that we've seen from Nemecha in central defense was not good. I mean, it's becoming painfully obvious where some of the squad deficiencies lie, and whether it's another left back, whether it's another central defender, we need somebody else on the Borussia Dortmund bench who can come in and fill in, because we can't get through 90 minutes without somebody going down injured. And it was even a bit unclear when Jan Couto went out if that was from picking up a knock. So it's just like I'm throwing my hands up in the air. It's like we've either got 2 injuries per game, or we've got 1 injury per game. We get 2 players back, one of them gets injured again. It's like nonstop.
Sorry, Joey. I gotta take a call real quick. Hi, yeah, Antonio. Yeah, Emre Can still speaks Italian. I'd highly recommend you to sign him. He can give you some cover in your title charge. Center back, right back,
Man, that's not even...
center midfield. Yeah, yes, Mr. Conti. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Not even
30 million.
I don't like
Okay.
Emre Can as much as the
35.
person, but
Sorry.
he
Was
was
I not
solid in the
muted?
past 2 matches. It's not even, I'm even feeling bad for
He,
him.
he was solid in his last two matches. Why is every ball in behind into the space where Emre Can is? And if you look at one instance in this match, in the first like real big chance that Hoffenheim creates, it's literally a ball over Emre Can's head. Whereas Emre Can, oh, he's out marking the winger again. Like I scouted this after his first match against RB Leipzig at center back. I scouted this. You think every Bundesliga team doesn't know if Emre Can's on the pitch, you get your winger higher, he's going to come into the middle of your pitch. You can run your striker off the left center back in that diagonal run into the space he's going to vacate. Like, I'm seeing this. If you think any professional tactical analyst at like a non-league, like working for free English club can't see it, let alone a Bundesliga level tactical analyst, like you are a moron. Like I noticed it.
I mean,
I noticed it watching the game live, not even watching it back. Like
No, it's
I mean,
fair. It's fair. And I know you can go, Joey. I can go after you.
yeah, I mean, right now it is very clear that like Felix Mecha should be in that central defensive midfielder position, and Emre Can should be essentially his understudy or coming in to relieve a few minutes from the bench. But I
Pedro's
mean,
rolling his
central
eyes.
defense is not. I mean, central defense is not Emre Can's strong suit. Um, it's just not good enough. But we don't have somebody else right now who can step into that role, unfortunately. And I mean, we could stick Lurs on as the starter, maybe who knows? I'm just spitballing. But at the end of the day, Emre Can's quality is just not good enough right now.
No, I completely
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, and it's more than that. I think what Eli said, I think it's pretty true actually, because if you remember, I think there's a point in the match where like he was basically persecuting. I'm not sure if it was the center forward or another guy all the way through the midfield. It was like, Emerson, do you realize you're not playing center defensive midfield? You're playing center back. I don't think that's your place to be in that particular scenario, but. I mean, what I said was solid. Like, I don't like Emre Can as much as the next person. I think he has been below the Dortmund standards that we want for this club. But to be fair, put in a position that's not your primary option. I mean, he was doing pretty decent job, and he didn't commit any key mistakes in both matches that I can remember now. So even in my playing ratings for Barcelona, I just gave a solid 6 because he was okay. He didn't contribute either for the good or the bad. So I thought he was okay. But yeah, I think also
I'd argue like his positioning at center back, like we've been forced into playing him. We don't necessarily have another choice. We
yeah,
obviously
that's true.
saw the mistake like Lors made, but I still think it's correct. Like it is our job essentially as podcasters to say like there's not like direct mistakes he's necessarily making, but his positioning oftentimes getting dragged too wide and leaving Nico Schlotterbeck in acres having to cover both the right and the left half, whether it's even Ben Sebaini getting pulled in more narrow against Barcelona, often left their right wingers in a ton of space, and I think that's a big issue. But again, like we can't talk about that in terms of fixing that until the winter transfer window.
Yeah.
So I think let's talk about and
No,
shift
actually,
over
Eli, I just
to
gonna say
some of
another
the
thing.
chance creation.
Related
Sorry.
to that topic, sorry to interrupt you. It's just because I just remember another thing, because it's also our job as our like tactical analysts to analyze the specific situations. And I thought in this match particularly that if young Kota have to go forward and he did have Bayer to cover for him, he would be in a lot of trouble because he had Kramaric there. I was kind of relieved that Kramaric was like further from the goal, so in that sense I liked him playing left mid. But at some points in there, just having him one on one against young Koto was a little bit skeptical and a little bit nervous. So at times when would Koto go forward, like sometimes Everton would be obligated to cover that space. So I think it's also sometimes he would be because of that. But yeah, and no, I agree with you. I think Everton
Yeah.
it's not fit for us anymore, and he shouldn't be playing in that position. But yeah, it's just also due to the tactical setup, and
Yeah.
if Bayer
And
wasn't there,
I
yeah,
I think like more experienced a center back that actually plays that role, would do a much better job of picking when to mark the guy out wide and when to mark the space centrally, and then waiting for the guy on that left wing to pick up the ball before you start to go over, to just kind of buy time and force the ball to be played well and the player to receive it and all that stuff before they start just starting out wide. You leave more space centrally, whereas if you start central and you have to get dragged out wide later, then you're essentially keeping that more important space occupied by a defensive presence. So that's kind of how I would interpret that. Not necessarily saying that his job is the easier, because you are correct in Jan Koto getting forward. But again, I think the biggest issue with this match, like, was not Emre Can. Like, he was the biggest defensive issue for me. But I think the biggest issue was the chance creation. 0.551 XG created speaks for itself, especially when we did not take an early lead in this match, which is one of the things that can really skew your single game XG. Like, creating 0.51 against, like I said, the third worst defense in the league
At
is
home.
unacceptable at home. Were there any things you guys specifically noticed that caused our chance creation issues? Because I noticed a million.
I mean, yeah, it's hard not to notice something. I mean, for one thing, I think we recorded one successful cross in this match. Crosses were going straight like crazy. If we look at Gio Reyna's goal, I mean, it kind of came out of nothing. It was a clearance that he handled very well off his chest and, I mean, fired home. But that wasn't a created chance per se. It was a really good shot, and in some ways a little lucky that the clearance came to him. But I mean, it's like trying to think of the chances that we did had. I mean, nothing was really coming that close. I mean, there's the one that I think Girassi had that was toward the lower corner of the net. But I didn't think that was ever going in. Anyway, Pedro, what are your observations here? If I could
I
keep
have
going.
two. Yeah, no, I have two main ones actually. I think the main reason why we couldn't just transition well from defense to offense, I think, was basically just first, like, their pressing system was really effective. We're basically playing in a single pivot, just like Barcelona, but sometimes Gross would just help in matching a double pivot when we were really pressed, but still we couldn't find any solutions, and we just give the ball in dangerous areas too many times, especially in the first half. And I think a guy that didn't perform as well today as he did as against Barcelona is Felix Mecha. He just have an underwhelming match. I think he got better in the second half, but he didn't have really like eye-catching numbers. Like, he had 79% of accurate passes, which is not bad, but zero key passes during the match, and he lost possession 9 times during this whole match. So was a major reason why we couldn't just transition forward. I think Mecha was our main piece against Barcelona, just to take that ball from box to box, and he was not effective in the area, and we couldn't find any other solutions. I didn't see that tweak that he did against Barcelona with Ben Sabani going on the inside, especially in the first half. I didn't see any other solution, so that's also on Sahin, just to not find any other ways to go around their press, and they're really effective on that. And another thing that I noticed is our right side. And as much as I like Bayer, I'm not a fan of him going as a right winger. Of course,
Me
sometimes he'll
neither.
just drift inside to be that kind of like center forward close to Girassi, and Yankoto would occupy that space. But if Yankoto would do that the whole match, we would have an avenue behind his back. So he couldn't go do that movement from time to time. I remember a really good play from Yankoto. He finds a pass to break the ball to who was it? Was it Bayer? It was Bayer, and he crossed the ball, and but Girassi couldn't finish that. But he was just go and goal. It was a clear chance, but he couldn't capitalize. But it was a great pass from Yankoto, and I really believe that with playing with Bayer there and Ryerson, I think especially in the past few matches, I noticed we don't have really a lot of creative outlets on the right side. And as much as I like both players, they're not really known for their creativity and doing things out of the box. So in that sense, having both them at the same time, I felt that right side was really stale. At some points, like we couldn't find any solutions on that side. And then Karim Adeyemi, of course, finally got back from injury, and he made a great impact in the second half. Unfortunately, he couldn't score those two shots that he tried would have been two golazos, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I think for me, those are the main problems. But And also, it's just another thing I wanted to point out from Lurs. I think before the concession on the last minute, Girassi he lost the ball and then eventually became that. I forgot the name in English, but I think you guys know what I mean. But that throw in, of course, the throw in that eventually became the Hoffenheim goal. And even in my first like match players rating against Barcelona, I gave an 8 to Girassi, but besides the goals, he didn't play well at all, honestly, in my opinion. Like he couldn't hold the ball well. He lost a lot of duels to Kubarsi, who was way younger and not as physical as him, and he missed a few shots opportunity in that match against Barcelona. I didn't feel he was as sharp as he usually is in this match in particular. So I think those are the main problems for me, but I think it was an overall just underwhelming performance.
Yeah, I think that some of these chance creation issues are also like Gio Reyna gets the nod at the 10 in this match. And like I really rate Gio Reyna as a creative player. I think he was much better against Barcelona, but I don't think his issues were really down to Gio Reyna's footballing abilities because in so many instances I'm seeing him getting dragged out behind the left winger, and then he can look for occasionally playing like these deep crosses into the box for Guirassy or whoever else is there, like Maxi Bayer running in at the back post is a good option when you're going to play a striker out on the right wing. But that type of chance creation is like, it's statistically like such a low probability of you essentially playing the perfect ball in like that if you're completing 33% of your crosses, like that's about average. So like I don't really want that type of chance to be created. What I want is to see some of these like little reverse balls in between like the fullback and like the center back. Um and then get my winger to the byline and cut it back. And I think Jamie Gittins was often playing the wrong type of ball when he got into those situations. Adeyemi played the wrong type of ball when he got in one of those situations. And like I'll forgive these wingers though because I'm talking about two specific instances where they had the chance to play a cutback, which is like Man City have revolutionized world football because that's the statistically most efficient way to create a goal. They play a ton of cutbacks. That's all they do. We don't do any of that. So we just don't put ourselves in positions to create good chances. And again, like I'm seeing Gio Reyna in that space where you'd hit a deep cross right above the box and all the way out wide. Like, why is Gio Reyna there? Because there's a couple instances like where Kareem Adeyemi came inside and like he's looking for someone to like make a run or someone to like bounce a ball off, someone to lay a ball off to, maybe a 1-2, and that's just not there. Because if I see Kareem Adeyemi as like a 10 that is way more talented than myself, and I get the ball, I see Kareem Adeyemi running inside with the ball, I'm like, okay, I want to make myself available to receive this ball, and I'm just going to try and flick something in behind because I know Kareem Adeyemi is already running. He's faster and more nimble than any of these center backs, and that's what I'd be looking for. But Gio Reyna's getting pushed out wide, and when he's not getting pushed out wide, he's getting pushed up into that like second striker role that you see Marcel Sabitzer do because Marcel Sabitzer does not have creative talent. He's never really been a good creator in his career, whereas that is what Gio Reyna has made all his money doing. And so that really annoyed me is like not having our wingers like try and run to the end line and just play a cutback, play a ball along the back line, just try and get it in behind. So we didn't really do those type of things to create better chances. And that's the same type of thing we've seen Pascal Gross get asked to do all season is drop into that fullback slot to kind of like help out in possession a little bit. And there's times where like they should be doing that, but like Gross is a guy, for instance, who's been one of the best creators in Europe for half a decade at least, probably longer, and just seeing like some of the positions these elite chance creators are getting asked to do, um, like take up. These positions don't make sense. They're not where you create chances from, and we're seeing every chance creator on this team take significant strides back, and that again has to fall in one space. And so let's go into our star and dud of the week and talk about some of the guys we felt played well this week. So Joey, who is your star of the week?
My star of the week, I'm going to give to Kareem Adeyemi. We only saw him for 45 minutes, but I thought he looked extraordinarily promising, like he was finding his form back. If we had managed to win this game today, it would have been because Adeyemi had scored through individual talent, not through any kind of tactical setup. He had a couple really good runs through defenders, around defenders, and a couple pretty close shots too. He came on and he was pretty much the only threatening player on the pitch, despite that Gio Reyna goal. So I am going to give him my star because I think this squad has desperately missed having him there. So hopefully
And
he'll be ready to start next weekend.
And Kareem Adeyemi is the only player in the squad who has really exceptional creative output under Nuri Sahin this season, coming into this match at about 350 minutes. He's at 0.48 expected assisted goals per 90. The only players with more total expected assisted output for expected assisted goals are Julian Brandt, who's on about 900 minutes, and Serhou Guirassy, who's on about 900 minutes. And they're better than him by zero point 0.4 and 0.1, and that's like total creative output rather than the per 90s. He's far and away the best per 90 creative player that we have under Nuri Sahin. So like Nuri Sahin has to continue to get the best out of Kareem Adeyemi and also find someone else with some talent in the squad to create a chance because we need to step it up. Pedro, there's one obvious guy that I'm hoping you're going to name because I have a niche shout to make.
Ooh, okay. So it's gonna go with my first pick. Like I was gonna leave you with that guy because I thought it was gonna be that's your thing, but okay, I'm gonna do it. But I'm just gonna give a quick shout out
Thank
because
you.
I forgot to say tell him out on the first part of the segment was Julian Duranville. I thought he was brilliant in the first half against Barcelona. Really electric and not afraid to commit mistakes and go forward and try to just break those lines and try to find great chances for us. He didn't even think he was playing against Barcelona. Apparently, he thought he was playing against Sturm Graz or something like that. With all due respect,
Looked like a
but
kid having fun at the park for sure.
exactly, yeah, no, he has the attitude. I like it, and hopefully he stays fit for longer and can be that like second option to Karina Adeyemi. But my true start of the week is Nico Schlotterbeck. It's just crazy how good that guy is. Player ratings against Barcelona, my best player with an 8 grade. I could have given him a little bit more. Unfortunately, he didn't score that goal by the end. I know it was offside, but it wouldn't been like just justified his performance, which was brilliant. And even against all odds, he comes back from apparently what I thought was going to be a serious injury, but he was there like it was nothing. He was just there, and he started the whole match, and he played like nothing happened. Like against Barcelona, he was keen long passes and short passes. Those great two tackles against Barcelona in the second half, they basically saved us on those counterattacks. So yeah, for me, Nico is just honestly he's our best player by far, in like for a long time in my opinion, and in this season for me for sure he's our best player. So Nico Schlotterbeck, it's my start of the week.
And my star of the week, it's going to be Julian Hetver. One of his goals was brilliantly set up by Cole Campbell, but this is a guy whose contract is expiring this summer. We spent 500,000 to bring him in from Duisburg, which is a local West German side, right near Borussia Dortmund, relatively. My German geography is not the best. Regardless, he added 2 goals. To an already outstanding campaign. He's averaging a goal contribution every about like 94 minutes, I think it was, after this brace. And we're talking about genuinely elite output. Granted, it's at the third division. However, uh, our U23s are currently in the a bottom half side. So to have that level of goal contributions at any level at just 21 years of age, for a bottom half side in your league is astounding. It goes to show that he has like multiple ways he can contribute. So he has, I believe it's like 4 goals, 9 goals, 4 assists. So he has that creative side to him. He has that goal scoring output, and he's getting these goals in a number of ways. He's able to create big chances with like looping balls in behind. He's able to cut inside. He's able to go out wide a little bit. He's not necessarily the fastest guy, but he has a very good sense of the game, and I would really like to see him this winter get a contract extension and get a real chance with the senior team, because we've seen Chris Führich and a lot of other guys come through Borussia Dortmund's second team and go on to impress in the Champions League, like Atakan Karazor against Real Madrid earlier this season. So I really think that now that our U23s are at a higher level, our scouting team is able to get a little bit of a better player, and this is a guy that has already been linked with many, many Bundesliga clubs, and every week it feels like the type of clubs he's getting linked with get better and better. He's gone from getting linked with Köln a few weeks ago to now getting linked with, I believe it was like Stuttgart, Freiburg, and a bunch of other Bundesliga sides. Like, this guy is going to play Bundesliga football next year. I said it months ago, and it's quite frankly inexcusable if Borussia Dortmund doesn't at least give him that senior shot in the second half of the season, and make it at worst a loan move next year before selling him on, because we have essentially found him in the third tier and given him his start in senior football, and he is clearly like wasting his time at that level. And I don't know what else there is to say about him, because he's just past it. There is nothing more he can do at the third tier to improve as a football player. He has to be playing Bundesliga football the minute we come back from the winter break. He could potentially allow you to sell a guy like Daniel Malen, because with the output you're getting from Durnville, you hope he can get more minutes. You hope Jamie Bino Gittins can continue to provide a good output at a senior level. You have Bayer, you have Adeyemi back, and now you add in a guy like Hetver. Hetver can essentially like replace Mullen right away, and then you allow all your other young players to continue to improve, and a sale of Daniel Mullen could fund someone's return, like let's say Max Hummels, or a guy that's just getting cast out of like Chelsea because they have 18 center backs, and you can go loan one of these guys in, and that would really fill in some of our depth issues that we're seeing. Like getting a right-sided center back that can play a little bit of right back and a lot of center back would really, really help. So that is my start of the week. Again, a brace in a win. And Cole Campbell shining as well down for the third tier. Also, I think like replacing him at in the third tier is fairly easy to do internally. Like, we've seen Cole Campbell get a lot of minutes there, and you could also have a guy like Ousmane Diallo step up from the U19s full time in the second half and continue playing with the third division side, because I think he could be ready very soon. But yeah, let's get into the negativity. Let's get the hate out of our heart and kind of expel that. Joey, who is your dud of the week?
My dud, despite his brace against Barcelona, is Sergio Guirassy. His goal from open play against Barcelona it was good. It was a goal that a striker should finish. He converted the penalty as well, which is also great. But his play outside of those goals, I have found to be pretty mediocre. And some of his dispossessions in hold-up play are really making me kind of miss a certain Niklas Füllkrug. But I think what kind of puts
that's revisionist.
What's the cherry on the icing for me, though, was that overturned penalty today, because that was a flop and a half. I recognize that he felt some contact on his stomach and he went down. I know strikers are kind of trained to do that, but I mean, he's a big guy. He's not. This isn't Jan Kuto wrestling his way into the box against a 6'5" defender. And I really think that if he hadn't gone down so easily, he could have gotten a shot off. It wasn't the best touch that he had on the ball, but it was a good enough touch, I think, to get a shot off. And we had some momentum. There were promising Dortmund plays heading into the box. And then we had this 3.5 minute VAR break, and it just completely broke the pace of the play. And for me, I mean, come on, Grass, you got to do better. And I know that he is capable of better. So I'm really hoping to see at least a goal from him against Wolfsburg to finish out the Hinrunde. So that is my dud of the week.
Tried to turn a point like 4.5 xG chance into like a 0.8 xG chance. So I give him a little bit of slack there. I think there is enough contact that last week we saw something very similarly get given against us. So I think it's a penalty, but again, like I already said earlier on the show, you can't be relying on the referees to create your chances. I've said that time and time again. Like, you only think the referee has a terrible performance when you have a terrible performance. I think that I try to be objective, and sometimes I'll criticize a referee when we win, but the referee did not cost us this game with that terrible decision. It was the fact that we sucked.
And if he
I'm not
had
saying you
given
disagree.
and if he had given that penalty, then I think there would have been a case to be made for that. I think it was when was it Jan Kuto and another one of their players kind of, or maybe it was Ben Sabaini, both sort of had their heads down toward our goal toward the end of the match, and I mean they had their arms on each other. So it's one of those that you kind of look at and you at least appreciate that the referee officiated fairly. Yeah, that's how I feel at least.
Yeah, you can understand his reasoning for sure. Pedro, who is your dud of the week?
Well, I'm just gonna give my quick opinion on that matter. I don't think it was a penalty. I think at first I thought it was, but then when I see on the replay, I thought Girassi, like he with his body movement, managed to take the defender off, but he was lightly touching. As soon as he saw he was touched, he tried to, just because he was going on the opposite way of the defender. He thought, I mean, he's gonna touch him like in a way that there was impossible not to give a penalty, but VR called it out, and after thinking a lot, I don't think it was a penalty. I don't think it was a bad decision. I think, honestly, I think there was more of a penalty against Kubarsi, but both those penalties can be interpreted in different ways. But going to my dud, I have to go Sabitzer. I mean, he wasn't good at all against Barcelona. He didn't like help pressing, not even pressing. He was effective, and I couldn't remember a single good contribution from him. I remember him missing a few chances against Barcelona in the first half. I think there was one which was offside, but even so, you should at least score that if you were in a good position. So in that sense, I think it also speaks to what Eli was saying earlier about like our midfield, like trying to find out who is the perfect A to be like that guy in the midfield, because we have our six with Mecha, and then when Brent is back, he's gonna be our number 10. So who's gonna be the extra guy to really contribute with progression and go forward and try to create chances for us? And right now, Sabitzer. I thought about him as well. Yeah, I mean, from the guys we have right now, Gross is also not. It was also being drifted like Sabitzer to different positions, like in the right wing, and then coming back in the double pivot to help match against Hoffenheim. Sorry, but it seems like he doesn't know what he does on the pitch. Like exactly, he doesn't have a proper like sense of where he should be. He also contributes a lot with passing. He has more quality than Sabitzer in that matter, and also with set pieces, he's really useful on that. But I'm not sure. I think Kiwatkin could have some minutes, or at least
I
try
mean,
to seize
this
his
is
moment
this
to be that
to
guy.
be fair to Watyin, like yes, he doesn't necessarily like know his position on the field. He's got about like 6 senior appearances. Two of those are about 5 minutes long, and he has played right back. He has played 6. He has played 8, and he has played 10. So in his like 4 senior appearances of over 10 minutes, he's played 4 different roles, which goes to show that I think if you give him one role to learn, he can do a pretty good job tactically adjusting quickly. Like that's something I think from watching him play in these various different roles. is he very clear, like he does a very good job of listening to what he's told. So like when he was playing right back, he was just so disciplined. When he was playing six, again, he's like not going forward. It's like he sees a certain line on the pitch in the final third, and he's like, oh, I can't go past there. Um, so I think that's a guy that like we've seen have a perfect win rate. We don't need to talk about the sample size one game, but he has a perfect win rate when starting in midfield next to a certain matcha. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, he can be a multitasker and learn different positions, but I mean, he has at least to focus on something, right? So I think it would be good for him to seize his moment in that position, which was like his most prominent position on the pitch. But yeah, I think for me it's a bitter, not only because of the match against Barcelona, but for the fact that he lost his starting role in the following match against Hoffenheim. And even though Gross didn't do brilliantly against Hoffenheim and he was subbed for Sabitzer at some point in the second half, Sabitzer didn't do many things either, like in the short amount of time he was on the pitch. So for me, Sabitzer is the clear loser from this week, and we'll see if he will ever come back to his last year form where he scored one of the goals that I celebrated the most, probably for Dortmund, that
The
4
same.
2 against
Yeah.
Atletico. Still got chills only thinking about it, but yeah, for me, Sabi is the dud for this week.
I think he needs
yeah,
a goal for confidence.
yeah. I was thinking when you were talking about him missing that like offside chance, like he needs to see the ball hit the back of the net, even if it gets taken back. Like that would just do his confidence a world of good.
Mhm.
This is a guy like last year. I've talked about it a million times. He was finishing at an unsustainable rate. He was not playing well. Um, but like when you finish at an unsustainable rate, like at a certain point, like I guess you are playing well, but it wasn't sustainable, and you're seeing that this year. The contract is aging like milk. And I called it. I told you all. In the first episode I think I ever did with Pedro, I was talking about that. I was like, oh my god, this is not gonna age well. Like we have this guy till he's 33. Like I don't know what role he plays. He's not an 8, he's not a 6. Like yeah, he can play those places, but he's not it's not that. He's played right wing, he's played striker, he's played 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I
He's played
think.
everywhere on the pitch, and that's
Yeah,
very
no, I think
helpful,
one
but
position that he plays that it doesn't really exist in football anymore. I remember a player which is kind of like Sabitzer. I don't know if you guys remember Elano, like a Brazilian guy. He played for Santos and he played for Man City as well for a while when City was not like a big team, but he was kind of like that number 8, but he was not exactly an 8. Like he was the second guy on the midfield who was really good at shooting the ball. He was set piece taker. He scored a lot of goals. He was basically the best player Brazil had for the World Cup 2010 in South Africa at the first phase, and then he got a serious injury, I think, on his third match, and then he was out of the competition. So that's the kind of role that really doesn't really exist anymore, like because we're producing so many wingers that there's no space for like a second midfielder who like he's neither a 8 who can do the box to box or only a guy. He's basically a shooter like from that like close range, like a second center forward, but doesn't really exist anymore. Like when you're playing a midfield three, like and usually in that those formations we play with two strikers, one playing more that center forward role. So that's kind of the way I see Sabitzer. I think he's a good player, but he's plays a position that's not really common nowadays. You know?
yeah. My dead of the week to close out this segment. It's Watzke Shaheen. This is one individual. Because I couldn't pick between the two. So Watzke essentially allowing us to sell a academy player when we shift into this smaller squad. Where we said we want a smaller squad because we think our young players are ready, but not Tom Rotha, who actually is ready, and it has been very good in the Bundesliga all season. Like having that guy on the books at like 250k to 750k, like essentially point like 5% of our wage bill. Like that's just not a good fit because if he provides you like literally like 1,000 league minutes, like that doesn't pay for itself. You know what does pay for itself? 5 million, because then you can go and sign like a guy like Jan Koto, who like it is good. Is he worth 20 mil? I don't know. Um, and I think that like when you're talking about a team that has an issue of like a lacking depth, selling one fullback to sign another fullback at such a significant loss is a bit of a squad planning issue. I do like Jan Koto. Every time he's played very well. He needs to get a consistent run of games because of his fitness, and like Ryerson's been pretty good when he's played as well. Like I understand wanting to be too deep in every position, but again, this is why Watzke's the dud because we're too deep in that position for the cost of 20 million and not an insignificant amount of wages. But then in other positions, we're like one deep. So we have one left footed center back. And apparently, like, I don't know if they shot him up with anything to get the swelling down, whatever it was, horse placenta, I don't know. Um, we're one deep in that position, had a heart attack when he went down. My favorite player, obviously. Like, that said, all these injuries, every single one of them, that gets to the other side of my Nuri Vatska dud of the week is that the squad, the 11s that are getting put out, are good enough to win these games. This is not the 11th best squad with the amount of injuries we've had. Like, even with these injuries, this team is not the 8th best. They're not the 6th best. They're not the 4th best. Like, they are comfortably a top 3 side, even despite all these injuries. And, like, it astounds me how people defend Shaheen when you see this match and you see the match against Eintracht Frankfurt and how we struggled to create chances in that match despite scoring 2 goals on match week 1. And we're now switching back and forth between 3 systems and none of them have worked. And like we're just randomly rolling the ball out there. Gonna probably play a new tactic against Wolfsburg away because we haven't won an away match all season. We're halfway through the campaign. Like, at what point do you need to see progress? Because you're not seeing it on the pitch. Like the draw against Bayern, like Jamie Gittin scores like a wonderful goal, and we concede a decent amount of chances, comfortably enough to like lose our lead. Um, we don't create chances against Mönchengladbach. We don't create chances against Hoffenheim. We don't create chances against Werder Bremen, and that's 3 months ago. Like, at what point do we need to see progress? At a certain point, like, you can't keep crying like all my players are injured because you're running out guys that, like, we took Hoffenheim's best young player last season, and now we're going and inviting them into our home and letting them walk out with a point. Because you can't make a 30 million pound signing look good. You can't make a 35 million pound signing like come in and allow him to be put into positions to change the game. Like, he's having to dribble 5 people and start his runs from like midfield in Karim Adeyemi. You're paying a guy 10 million and not a massive transfer fee, excuse me, but you're paying him a massive, like Sarah Gurasi, a massive amount of wages. You're paying him a signing on fee. Like, Hoffenheim would love these things, and you can't create him a chance.
I've got something to say about Nuri
Like,
Shaheen.
Nuri Shaheen, at what point are you just going to keep getting away with not taking criticism for a poorly built squad that still has the tools in it to not be in 8th place?
So I think you touch on a really important point in that takedown of Nuri Shaheen there, and that's the multiple systems that we're trying to implement, because there's a lack of stability, there's a lack of cohesion. When we look at our league stats, it's 6 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. What has kept us within the Champions League qualification range has been the perfect home form. We've been atrocious away, but we managed the wins at home. And now we're in a situation where, okay, now we've started to drop points at home, but we haven't made up for that with getting points on the road. So a couple consecutive home draws, and suddenly we're in 8th place, 5 points outside of the Champions League places. And we've got one match left of the Hinrunde, and it's away. and it's away against a team that has already beaten us this season. And we haven't, like Eli said, we haven't won an away game yet this season. So I know that on this podcast, probably 3 weeks or a month ago, I think Pedro and I both kind of said, we're going to give Fulkrug until, or Fulkrug, what am I saying? We're gonna give Nuri Sahin until the winter break to really make a judgment. But as far as what I have seen in the last few weeks, the case for Nuri Sahin is getting more and more difficult. He's becoming difficult to defend. We're not seeing him take enough responsibility in press conferences, and we're a week away from a 3-week break. And if I was in the Borussia Dortmund hierarchy, which I'm not, I would be seriously considering what other options might there be, even in like an Edin Terzic caretaker type role, like we saw a few seasons ago when Favre got sacked. Because I don't have the confidence anymore that Shaheen really is going to be able to right the ship. And I mean, if we finish the Hinrunde in eighth, 9th, 10th, 11th place, I mean that's going to be the worst start we've had since Jurgen Klopp's last season in charge. And then it's really about what we can do in the second half of the season to salvage the season. I mean, whether we get into the top 8 of the Champions League or not, we're through to the next round of Champions League. So I'm not concerned about that, but I mean, I really feel like we're at risk at this point of the season collapsing unless some kind of change is made in the winter break, or something is addressed, or Nuri Sahin suddenly figures out what he needs to do, or what loan players we need, what reinforcements we need, or what physios need firing so we can keep our players fit. Because there are several problems that are hampering the development of this squad right now. And I unfortunately am leaning toward saying that Nuri Sahin is one of them.
Yeah, no, I think what I have to add to what you guys said, and I agree with you both. I think, at least for me, when I see a manager and he's new to his job, and especially Sahim with few experience in that position, at least if we're not winning or getting the results, I want to see a clear path on where we are going. And
Exactly.
up to this point, I only have seen flashes. I have seen interesting ideas, but I haven't seen that put into consistency enough for me to be excited about the project yet. And on the top of that, we are not getting the results, so that worries me a lot. And I think what not scares me, but I think he's gonna stay for the rest of the season. That's not really how Watzke and the rest of the guys operate. And their injuries is a for more that what Eli said is true. It's not an excuse. He needs to provide more with that squad he has, but still is a lot of injuries. So in that sense, at some point in the season, we didn't have any wingers besides Jimmy Gittins to play. So in that sense, I understand where the argument of not having enough players and having a huge injury crisis. I understand the argument for him to stay, like for not to just to put all that into the injury crisis. But I would like to just mention a guy I saw on Twitter, Elias Kukinos. Like he's a guy who tweets often about Borussia Dortmund. And I'm not gonna read the text that he posted. I think it was today after the match, and I thought it was really interesting because he mainly points out it's not only Shaheen. He said like Shaheen has his like things to be blamed on him, but at the same time, I think the problem and how Borussia Dortmund should change starts from the top, like with Otske and the nepotism on hiring people only close to you, close from home, or
100%.
people who played here, like just with people with not necessarily enough experience to be in that role at that point in time. And that makes so much sense to me because I think the problem with the mentality starts from the top. And I think it's from the top that we should start fixing the problems we are in Borussia Dortmund. Not saying not necessarily all the guys who were hired with that criteria are necessarily bad. I think Cal has done good stuff for Dortmund, for instance, but I mean, I think it's more than Sahin, and I think honestly he's gonna stay for the rest of the season. And what I want to see for the second half of the season, not even counting this match against Wolfsburg, it's just a clear path and like a better idea of where you want to take us. Because for now, I haven't been seeing that, and the season it could be over for us sooner than later. Because I mean, we probably go to the next round of Champions League, but we still get an extra round before going to the last 16, and we're gonna face difficult teams. Like, it's not gonna be easy. I think we're gonna compete, but I mean, against clubs like Madrid and Barcelona, we couldn't like effectively just get the results. And in a knockout football, that's gonna cost us. And we don't have Pokal anymore. We are sitting eight. I think I think it was 11 points behind Bayern Munich. I might be wrong, but I
Yeah.
think it's 11 points. So, I mean, it's just really not exciting, and I want to see a clear path in the second half of the season because Sahin is going to stay, very likely, but I really want to see the changes starting from the top.
Yeah, I mean, Watzke's kind of announced his retirement. That's going to be a better topic to kind of tackle during the winter break. I'm going to real quick give my score prediction. 2-1 loss. Like, I'm past believing in this. We're going away. Like, we're getting worse. The underlying numbers are getting worse. Um, yeah, there's not really a lot of reasons to believe aside from Kareem Adeyemi, who's been our best attacking player when on the pitch this season, is back. Like, that could really help. Does Schlotterbeck's ankle disintegrate? I don't know. Because I'm not allowed to see the medical documents, and I have no trust in our club because the last two times we ran a center back out when they were coming back from an injury or an injury scare, they both got injured. So yeah, no belief in the medical. Like, it's not necessarily the physios are not necessarily the problem because the physios can give you the correct advice as a coach, and if you still continue to play them because you need to pick up the points, um, like that's on you as a coach. And I think that could very well be what's happening. Because a physio knows if a player gets hurt immediately after being injured, that's their job on the line. Um, so I don't think it's the physios. I think the physios get a lot of the flack for like a coach being told, listen, this guy, if you play him, is very likely to be injured.
That's good. That's a good
And
point,
that's
but
what's going to happen.
we
But
just don't
let's
know.
quickly run through your score predictions before we head out.
Yeah, I mean, like Eli said, not a whole lot of confidence. I think this is going to be a 3-1 win for Wolfsburg. Um, so yeah, 3-1 loss for us. But I can be hopeful.
Man, that's so depressing. But yeah, I think for me, yeah, considering how bad we played against them at the Pokal, and to be fair, that game we have a lot of injuries and a lot of guys were
Mhm.
not available. Our backline was a mess, but
I mean, we played Jordi
even
Paulino
still,
off the bench with Ayman Azil. Like,
yeah, but still, there's a lot of injuries. And yeah, I don't know. And young Koto, we're not sure he's going to be back. And if Ryerson is not fit enough at that point, we're going to have another improvisation at that sector. So, not really
okay, score
excited as
prediction.
well.
Score
Yeah,
prediction.
yeah, I'm not going to be that negative. I'm going to go with a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1 for me.
Bold
Fair.
prediction to pick up Borussia Dortmund getting its third away point to pass teams like Holstein Kiel on away points for the first half of the season. Quick shout out, Edward DC4 has maintained the top spot of the Dortmund Dispatch Fantasy League. I'm still in the top 10 despite a terrible week. So not bad for me. Could have been much worse. Um, anyway, thank you guys for joining. Before we go, is there anything you want to plug, Joey?
Yeah, I've somehow pushed my way into the top 20 of that Bundesliga fantasy now. We'll see if I can hold on to it. But yeah, you can check out my writing at bvbbuzz and fearthewall.com. Follow me on Twitter, X, Blue Sky. I post all my stuff there, and yeah.
Joey, you're
Pedro.
now within a full week's points of me.
Full week's points of view.
2,400.
Well, I mean, Harry Kane's out now, but he always seems to score a hat trick right after I take him out of my squad. So,
And yeah, for me, of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter slash X at Del_Pedro 23. We had a good show, a lot of depressing things to talk about, but hopefully we can turn this around after the winter break because I really want to see new things from Sahim, or at least something to be excited about. Because unless you guys don't remember, we are facing Leverkusen in January 10 as our first
yep,
game after the winter break. So
on a
we,
Friday.
it's gonna be a hard one.
Well, to make you feel better, if we win against Wolfsburg, we'd be on pace to finish with 56.66 points, which would put us outside of the Champions League places all of the last like 5 years, excuse me. So we have that to look forward to. But yeah, shocking out. Maybe don't hire your best friend next time, Mr. Vatska.
Terzic is coming back.
And early retirement, like you're
Homecoming.
getting up there. Like you've already announced your retirement in a year. You could just move it up. Maybe like spend
Why,
some time with your grandkids. I'm sure they miss you.
why not just finish it out with 2024, right?
Yeah, have a good one to our listeners and maybe Mr. Vatska. Probably not though. Wishing you the best in everything, as always.
Happy holidays.
Jadon Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce out. Another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond
Jetzt
compare.
kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!